Welcome to the New South Wales Electoral Commission candidate presentation for local council by-elections. This presentation is for the election of a mayor or for the election of one or more councillors. The Candidate Information Seminar, Part 1. This presentation is in 4 parts. In Part 1, we will cover electoral rolls, registration and nomination processes, and the ballot paper draw. Part 2, we will be covering electoral material. Part 3, we will cover election campaign finance management. And Part 4, we will cover voting, vote counting and results, disclosure of donations and expenditure, and allegations and offences. Overview. This presentation is intended to assist individual candidates, groups and political parties contesting local council by-elections that are conducted by the New South Wales Electoral Commissioner. If the by-election for your council is not being conducted by the Electoral Commissioner, go to our website for information on the registration process and the management and disclosure of election campaign finances. The website address is www.elections.nsw.gov.au/FD. The information in this presentation is based on legislation and policies of the Electoral Commissioner and the New South Wales Electoral Commission as at the date of recording, the 20th of February 2017. Websites and call centre. All forms and publications, including the Candidate Handbook, are available from the New South Wales Electoral Commission website www.elections.nsw.gov.au. The election calendar with key election dates is also available on the New South Wales Electoral Commission website. The New South Wales Electoral Commission has a candidate call centre, and that number is 1300 088 942 to deal with any candidate-specific inquiries. The Office of Local Government has a website, www.olg.nsw.gov.au, and the New South Wales Legislation website is www.legislation.nsw.gov.au. All council by-elections are conducted under the Local Government Act and regulation, and all campaign finance information can be found in the Election Funding, Expenditure and Disclosures Act and regulation. Electoral rolls. The residential roll is a state Commonwealth electoral roll. It's compulsory for persons to be enrolled and it's compulsory to vote. Electors in the council area or ward, as applicable, can vote at a polling place within their enrolled area or ward. Non-residential roll. Persons who wish to get on the non-residential roll for the council election must make application to the council general manager. Even if you applied at a previous election, you must re-enroll. The exception to this is the City of Sydney, where the non-residential roll is an ongoing roll. Persons who are on the non-residential roll, it is optional to vote. Once again, the exception being the City of Sydney, where if you are on the non-residential roll, it is compulsory to vote. List of electors will be available to candidates. It will be available in soft copy only on a CD. The form to be completed is Request for Electronic List of Electors, and it must be lodged with the Returning Officer. The CD will be available from the Returning Officer after the close of rolls.
When do you become a candidate? Candidates have legal obligations that must be complied with when a person becomes a candidate. So it's important that you understand when you become a candidate. A candidate includes a member of a group and a candidate for mayor and a candidate for a councillor election. A person becomes a candidate when the person is registered as a candidate for an election, or when the person is nominated as a candidate, or when the person accepts a political donation or makes a payment for electoral expenditure for the election, whichever of these comes first. Just remember that a candidate includes an ungrouped candidate, a member of a group, a candidate for a mayoral election, and a candidate for a councillor election. When do you become a group? In this series of presentations, you should know that references to groups are only applicable where there are 2 or more positions to be filled in a council area or ward. A group of candidates has legal obligations that must be complied with when the candidates become a group. A group of candidates becomes a group when the candidates register as a group for an election, or when nominated candidates request to form a group on the ballot paper, or when the individuals accept a political donation or make a payment for electoral expenditure for an election, whichever of these comes first. A group is 2 or more councillor candidates who form a group for the election in a council area that is undivided or in a ward. Registrations and nominations. Registration and nomination are 2 separate processes. You must understand the difference between each process so that you can be eligible to run as a candidate for the election. Registration enables a candidate or group of candidates to accept political donations and make payments for electoral expenditure. Candidates and groups must be registered for the election and appoint an official agent before campaigning. Nomination enables a candidate to have their name printed on the ballot paper for an election. Candidates can only be nominated for an election during the nomination period. First, we'll be talking about registrations. Ungrouped candidates, groups and group members must be registered with the New South Wales Electoral Commission for an election and appoint an official agent before accepting political donations or making payments for electoral expenditure. To be registered, a candidate or group must make an application to the New South Wales Electoral Commission. Applications for registration are open until the day nominations close for the election. If a candidate or group is not going to accept donations or incur electoral expenditure before being nominated, then registration is not required. You will be automatically registered by the Electoral Commission when you are nominated. Official agents. Each candidate and each group of candidates must appoint a person as an official agent. When applying to be registered for the election or when nominated for the election, whichever of these occurs first. The official agent is responsible for managing the election campaign finances of the candidate or group and for disclosing the candidate or group's political donations and electoral expenditure. Candidates and groups must notify the Electoral Commission of the appointment of an official agent. Who can be an official agent? To be appointed as an official agent, a person must be on the New South Wales Electoral Roll. They must complete the Electoral Commission's online training for agents, and they must not have been convicted of an indictable offence, an electoral offence, an offence involving dishonesty, or an offence against the Election Funding, Expenditure and Disclosures Act. Agent training is not required for those who have certain accounting qualifications. If a person meets all of the above criteria, they can be appointed as an official agent. An official agent can appoint other people in writing to accept donations and make payments for expenditure on behalf of the candidate or group. But such people must not have been convicted of any of the above offences. Registration and official agent forms. If you're a group of candidates for a by-election, use the EF721 form, the application for registration of a group of candidates and notice of appointment of official agent. This form enables you to apply to register the group for the election, register each candidate in the group for the election, and notify the Electoral Commission of the agent appointed by the group and by each candidate who is a member of the group. If you're an ungrouped candidate or a mayoral candidate, complete the EF722 form, which is the application for registration of candidate and notice of appointment of official agent form. This form allows you to apply to register as a candidate for the election and notify the Electoral Commission of the agent appointed by you. Candidates and groups of candidates that do not apply to the Electoral Commission to be registered must appoint an official agent and notify the Electoral Commission of the agent's appointment on the day the candidate is nominated for the election. If this is you and you are a group of candidates, notify the Electoral Commission of the appointment of your agent by completing the form EF673. If you're an ungrouped candidate or a mayoral candidate, complete the form EF672. What happens when you have not appointed an official agent? If at any time a candidate or group does not have an appointed agent, the candidate is their own official agent, and the head candidate of the group is the official agent for the group. If you are in this situation, you still have an obligation to appoint an official agent. Fines of $2,750 can apply to candidates and group members that do not have an appointed agent. It is important that you understand that you have an obligation to contact us under certain circumstances. Your official agent must notify us if a group is registered for an election and a candidate leaves the group, or a new candidate joins the group, or the group has a new head candidate. Your official agent must notify us in writing if the agent's contact details change or their particulars change, such as their name, or the contact details or particulars of the candidate or group change, or the candidate or group wishes to cancel their registration. An ungrouped candidate or the head candidate of a group must contact us if the official agent resigns, dies, or their appointment is revoked, and in these cases a new agent must be appointed using either the EF673 form for groups or the EF672 form for ungrouped candidates and mayoral candidates. When and how to lodge registration and agent forms. These forms must be lodged directly with the Electoral Commission in the Funding, Disclosure and Compliance Division. Forms must be lodged with the Electoral Commission before you accept any political donations or make payments for electoral expenditure. The Electoral Commission may refuse to register a candidate or group if the information on the form is incomplete or incorrect. The Electoral Commission may cancel a candidate or group's registration if we are not notified of changes to the registered details of the candidate or group.
Candidate nominations. Who can be nominated as a candidate? Any person on the electoral roll, and the electoral roll is the residential roll and the non-residential roll, in the council area as at 6 p.m. on the day of the close of rolls may nominate as a candidate. You can check your enrolment on the New South Wales Electoral Commission website using the Enrolment Verification Facility. Disqualifications. Information is provided on the back of the nomination form regarding disqualification from civic office. The New South Wales Electoral Commission and or the returning officer will not provide advice on a candidate's eligibility. If a candidate is in doubt, they should seek their own legal advice. The nomination form. There are two types of nomination forms. 1. Nomination of a candidate by 2 eligible electors, and 2. Nomination of a candidate by a registered political party. The nomination forms are in 4 parts: the nomination form, the candidate information sheet, nomination deposit refund form, and the statistical sheet, which is optional for a by-election. Note, a nominator cannot nominate more than one candidate where there is one candidate to be elected, or they cannot nominate more than 2 candidates if there are 2 candidates to be elected. Nomination by a registered political party. Registered political parties must have been registered with the New South Wales Electoral Commission by 12 months prior to nomination day in order to nominate candidates. To stand on behalf of a registered political party, the candidate must be nominated by either the registered officer or the deputy registered officer of the party. The form that is required to be used is Nomination Form for Mayor or Councillor, Registered Political Party, LG by 202. Nomination by electors. Candidates may be nominated for Mayor by at least 2 electors enrolled in the council area. For councillor, where there are no wards, by at least 2 electors enrolled in the council area. For councillor with wards, by at least 2 electors enrolled in the ward the candidate is contesting. Nominators must be correctly enrolled as at 6 p.m. on the day of the close of rolls. As it is possible that some nominators may not be correctly enrolled, it is strongly recommended that candidates obtain more than 2 nominators on their nomination form. A person cannot nominate more candidates for a position than the number to be elected in a council area or ward. For Mayor, a person cannot nominate more than 1 candidate for Mayor. For councillor, a person cannot nominate more candidates for councillor than the number to be elected in that council area or ward. A candidate cannot nominate themselves. The nomination form to be used is Nomination Form for Mayor or Councillor, Nomination by 2 electors, LG by 203. Candidate Information Sheet. The candidate information sheet is part of the nomination form. It is compulsory for every candidate to lodge a candidate information sheet as part of the nomination process. If the candidate information sheet is not lodged with the returning officer by 12 noon on nomination day, the nomination will be rejected. The candidate information sheet is in the form of a statutory declaration. The content of the candidate information sheet is published as presented on the New South Wales Electoral Commission website and is available for inspection at the Returning Officer's office, pre-poll voting centres and all polling places on election day. Statistics form. This form is part of the nomination form. For a by-election, it is optional for candidates to lodge this form as part of the nomination process. This form captures generic information such as age group, languages spoken, occupation, etc. Nomination deposit. Each nomination for Mayor or Councillor must be accompanied by a nomination deposit. If the nomination deposit is not lodged with the returning officer by 12 noon on nomination day, the nomination will be rejected. The nomination deposit can be paid in the form of cash or bank cheque or credit union or building society cheque made out to the New South Wales Electoral Commission. The nomination deposit cannot be paid by personal cheque, money order, BPay, EFTPOS or credit card. The nomination deposit is $125 for each candidate. The nomination deposit is refunded after election day if the by-election is uncontested, or the candidate dies or withdraws their nomination, or the candidate is elected or receives at least 4% of the total number of formal first preference votes, or the candidate is included in a group for councillor and a member of the group is elected or receives at least 4% of the total number of formal first preference votes. Forming a group on the ballot paper. It is important to note that this is only applicable where there are 2 or more positions to be filled in an undivided council or in a ward for councillor. Candidates for councillor may wish to form a group to appear together in a single column on the ballot paper. You need a minimum of 2 candidates to form a group on the ballot paper. Any combination of candidates may form a group, that is, groups can be made up of all candidates from the one registered political party, all candidates from more than one registered political party, or all independent candidates, or all non-independent candidates, or any combination of the above. The group must be formed by completing the request to form a group LG by 204 form signed by all candidates in that group. The request to form a group form must be lodged with the returning officer by 12 noon on nomination day. Candidates for councillor who do not form a group appear in a single column on the far right-hand side of the ballot paper. Candidates for councillor who form a group may also request that a group voting square for above-the-line voting be printed on the ballot paper above their group. You need a certain number of candidates in the group to qualify for a group voting square, and there must be a request by at least 2 groups for a group voting square, otherwise no group voting square will be printed on the ballot paper. Additional information is available in the candidate handbook on forming a group and the number of candidates required in that group to qualify for a group voting square on the ballot paper. When and where to nominate. Nomination forms and deposits must be lodged with the returning officer for the council for which the nomination is made. Nomination forms and deposits must be lodged from the day of the close of the rolls up to the close of nominations at 12 noon on nomination day. It remains the candidate's responsibility to ensure the nomination form and deposit are with the returning officer by 12 noon on nomination day. Any defect in a nomination form or deposit cannot be rectified after 12 noon on nomination day. In such cases, the nomination will be rejected. It is strongly recommended that candidates do not lodge their nomination or deposit at the last minute. The list of nominated candidates will be published on the New South Wales Electoral Commission website. Withdrawal of nomination. A candidate may withdraw their nomination in writing so as to be received by the returning officer by 12 noon on nomination day. Where the candidate is in a group for councillor, the candidate must have all candidates in that group agree to his/her withdrawal by dissolving the group using the withdrawal of a request to form a group LG by 205 form. The registered officer or deputy registered officer of a registered political party cannot withdraw a nomination or dissolve a group. Ballot paper draw. The draw to determine the order of candidates' names and or groups on the ballot paper is conducted at the returning officer's office at 2 p.m. on nomination day. Candidates or their representatives, registered political parties, members of the public and the media are entitled to attend the draw. Following the conduct of the draw, the list of candidates on the New South Wales Electoral Commission website will be updated to reflect the ballot paper draw order. Mayor and Councillor ballot paper. On the screen are samples of ballot papers for election of Mayor and election of Councillor where no candidates have formed a group. On the screen is a sample of a ballot paper for Councillor where candidates have formed a group but there is no above-the-line voting, no group voting squares. Other samples of ballot papers are available on the New South Wales Electoral Commission website and in the Candidate Handbook. Remember, refer to the election calendar on the New South Wales Electoral Commission website for key dates. Check you are properly enrolled before the close of rolls. Register and appoint an official agent before you accept a donation or incur expenditure for the election. Don't leave it to the last minute to submit your nomination form. All forms are available on the New South Wales Electoral Commission website, www.elections.nsw.gov.au. Also remember to view parts 2, 3 and 4 of this presentation. If you have any questions, please contact the New South Wales Electoral Commission Candidate Call Centre on 1300 088 942. If you have any questions about this presentation, please email us at nominations@elections.nsw.gov.au.